Hello and welcome. This is the finale, the day 3, the final video of the Social Selling Live series. So if you are new here, I have been walking you through each and every day, well, not each and every day, over the past 3 days when I've been going live, of showing you my framework that I walk my clients through. It's called the work method. And we walk through this 5-step process. I've gone over steps 1 through 3 so far. And today I'm going to go through all 5 steps with you. You guys are going to get everything that you need to create a content strategy. If you're a coach, if you're a creative, if you're a service provider, and you're having trouble on Instagram actually selling your products and services, getting the right eyeballs on you, and you just feel like Instagram's best kept secret, then this live series has been for you because I designed it with you in mind. So just to recap days 1 and 2, but before I do that, I am Alana. I am the owner of Artwork Creative, and I am a creativity and embodiment coach, which means I work with those people that I just called out: coaches, consultants, service providers, creatives, people who do things with their hands, people who are creative minded and need to infuse that creative energy into an actual strategy that moves their business forward. Because creative energy, a lot of times, like I always describe, it feels like fire. It's very sparky. It's very like, whoo, whoo, whoo. But if we do not hone that fire in, we're going to have a wildfire, or it's just going to go out. So we need to hone in on that energy, actually move that spark forward, keep igniting it where it needs to be, and shine your light all around the world. So that's what we're doing in this live series. So like I said, recapping days 1 and 2. Day 1, we went over the top mistakes that I see people coming to me with, especially, and asking me, Alana, so this isn't really working for me. So they're having trouble with consistency. They're having trouble with actually converting their followers to buyers, growing their following to even have people who will buy from them, working with the algorithm, because oftentimes they're trying to work against it. And there's just so many different layers that happen that kind of throw people off, but we're going to get to the bottom of that today. So also with this, when we are going, hey, Famira, I'm just getting started. So also with day 2, we went over some more of the frequently asked questions that I had, especially when it goes into content creation, when it goes into actually moving that needle forward and getting people to interact with your stuff. So day 2 was very extensive. If you didn't watch the day 2 video, I put it on YouTube because it kind of went a little bit long, and I like to watch things on 2x speed. So I put it on YouTube for you guys. Day 1 is up there too. So you can like sit there and just binge through it and like knock it out. Actually go get the guidebook in my bio, because it's going to give you the action steps to actually get those things moving forward and get the ball rolling in your business. So that's recap of day 1 and 2. But today I'm going to walk you through the work method, my little lovely method that I created myself, that I use with my clients. And if you've ever had an intensive with me, I know Famira's here, she's had one before. I kind of touch on bits and pieces of the work method. I don't dive like into the depths of it, because when we get into it, it gets deep. This is why when I work with people, if you're in my program, we work with each other for 6 months, because we got to like use that time to really dive deep, develop what that energy is, that spark that you have within you, which I call either your spark or your creative genius. And we just really, really like go ham with it. So stay with me today, because I'm going to walk you through all the steps. But I wanted to talk about the work method. So it's a 5-step process. I'm going to walk through those 5 steps today, but I named it the work method after my company, Artwork Creative. So ART stands for Alana Renee Talbert. Those happen to be my initials, and I work with creatives. Who knew? My mommy knew what she was doing. I just noticed my nails match my shirt. Anywho, I got distracted. But yeah. So that's what art stands for. But work, I wanted it to be W-E-R-K, because W-E-R-K doesn't feel as harsh as W-O-R-K. I don't want us to be working. I want us to actually be serving, showing up, and like serving like in like that snap way, like the best way possible. But when I looked up work, after I had already chose it, I already like licensed my business, I was like, oh, this actually fits. So work, the definition means to do something to an exceedingly excellent capacity. Like, how amazing is that? How aligned, but like I said, I digress. So when I was coming up with this method, I came up with it based on my experiences being an entrepreneur, coming out here like with tons of ideas, saying like, I want to, like, kind of how I shared my story before, like, I want to be the owner of Disneyland, but I also want to help creatives and get all the women out here that I see in the world who are like these amazing people, but they're like the best kept secret. I want to get them out, push them out into the world, and everybody just shine as bright as possible. But when I'm doing that, I'm like, well, first I got to figure out how to do that for myself, like before I can help anyone do this. So going through that process, and I've been an entrepreneur full time for the past like 5 years now. I do artwork creative. I'm also the business director for a production company, Pink House Studios, Pink House Productions, Pink House Family, whatever you call it. It's licensed as Pink House Family because we are a family. But with all of that, I've learned so many different things from, especially not only for myself, but working with creatives, seeing their creative process, and by all means honoring that for them, and then just showing them how to sprinkle that strategy on top of it. Because really the meat of the work is that self-awareness and owning your creative strategy, owning your creative genius, and owning that you are an authority in this world who has something to share, something to shine light on, and me just kind of turning up the dial on that light. And that's just me sprinkling the strategy on top of it, being like, hey, if this is what you want to do, let's ride for it. Let's get in the driver's seat. And like I said, the driver is your content. The messaging is in the passenger side, and you're driving that messaging as far and wide as you possibly can. So with that, that was really how I came about it, just working with clients, working with myself. But then some of my clients, like Tatiana. And it's funny, when Tatiana came to me, it was because I was talking about Instagram. She had no experience with Instagram. She hadn't even signed up for an account. She was like, I am new to this. I am an immigrant. I'm from Eastern Europe. She had a very thick accent. She wanted to start an Instagram. She wanted to start a clothing line. She wanted to start a podcast. She's a creative with all those ideas. I'm like, so why haven't you done it? She's like, well, I have these ideas, but with my accent, I don't know if people understand me. I kind of have like a block around typing things because sometimes my grammar isn't right. I was like, you know how many people in the world think that same exact thing and they're not shining because that's what they're thinking. They're thinking that that's not valuable, that that doesn't need to be seen. She was like, got it. So when she started working with me, this was April 2020. This was like my first cohort during quarantine. I'm working with Tatiana. Tatiana showed up for every single call that we had. Sometimes if it was only her that showed up, she would have me all to herself for as long as she needed me. I'm like, take full on advantage. And when I tell you she took advantage, she started her Instagram account from zero, from nothing in April. By August, she had, I think, 7,000 followers. Last time I checked, she was working on 11,000. Like, she took it and blew up. She started a clothing line with the intention of serving an audience of women like herself who had basically gone through life, had had a divorce, had kids. They're starting this new life and just really owning what that new life looks for themselves and speaking for themselves. Basically what I do, but she was doing it with clothes. So when I was working with her, I was like, we're gonna really ramp this thing up. We are gonna get it going. She has an amazing clothing line. It's My Return Life. So myreturnlife.com. So check her out if you ever want to. And then I was also thinking of, because I work with so many different creatives in different lanes, because it's a challenge for myself to work with different people in different markets, but it's also me expressing my creativity and being like, all right, how much content can I help them with? How many strategies can I help them with? How can I get this going for you so you can really see like, oh my gosh, this can work for me. So I was working with, her name is Tam, my little Tam. She's a beautician. Like, she does everything. Like, I can't even call her a makeup artist because she does body paint, she does hair, she does lashes, she does like full blown transformations. And what is her Instagram name? I think it's Makeup by Tra, Tra. When I started working with Tam, I was like, you are incredible. Like, she would do body paint that was ridiculous. Like, I was like, how are you not popping? And she was also in one of my quarantine classes. So she's like body painting all day because that's what she does for fun. And she's posting pictures of it, but no one is loving on it. She had like maybe 200 something followers. Girl, when I tell you, I started working with Tam and just observing what she was doing, and as her coach being like, that was dope. You need to do more of that part. Because the body painting itself already dope off top. But I was like, what's going to differentiate you and really like bring that spark out of you? So this is something that is not only like your pastime, your hobby, but creates meaning for you. So when she started going live, and she was mostly focused on Facebook, I work with people on Instagram, but I also work with people on Facebook, and they kind of like swap over. So that's neither here nor there. But when she was going live, sometimes because she's I wouldn't say she's not a native English speaker, but she fluently speaks English and Spanish, and she would just naturally swap back and forth between the two while she's talking. I was like, you need to do that all the time. That was dope. She's like, oh, I didn't even notice I was doing it. I was like, no, like, I don't see a lot of makeup artists, especially body paint specialists, who do their lives in English and Spanish at the same time. Hey, Danielle, I haven't seen you in forever. But I don't see that many people who do it at the exact same time. Like, she would say something in English, say it in Spanish, and she was doing it because she had a lot of her family who only speak Spanish coming on her lives. I was like, by all means, please do that. And then she further expanded on it by going live doing body paint, and she's also a very spiritual person. So she has a best friend who is like a spiritual guide, a spiritual advisor. She would be doing body paint, and they're going live together. So Tam's doing body paint, her friend is like sitting next to her talking about spiritual practices, modalities, like different things that you can actually implement in your business, in your life. And Tam's body painting and like having the conversation with her, and also speaking in English and Spanish. I was like, this is mind blowing. Like the fact that you put these things that mean so much to you together and start delivering that to an audience, and her audience is like, wow. Like Tam, I was just talking to her, I think it was a couple weeks ago. She got flown out to Egypt to do makeup for some girl's wedding. Like, she killing it. Like, love it. But I love to like expand on my clients because they're all amazing. But getting into the work method. So I'm going to go through the 5-step process today. I just want to like love on people for a second. And also it just came up because I was talking about what they went through, what I forcefully put them through so they could see the results that they wanted to get. So with the work method, like I said, 5-step process. Step number 1 is actually unlocking your creative genius. This isn't something that I save to the end. This is something that I want you to own and hone in on up front, and really own what your genius zone is, what your light is. And because that's when I tell you we're going to turn that light up, we're going to turn it all the way up. We're going to turn it up to 11. So when you're unlocking your creative genius, I start with this because a lot of times people start businesses out completely out of alignment with themselves, with God, with their genius zone, what they're actually good at, because they start with something that they have a talent in, or they start with something that means something to them, but it's not that thing that's going to give them that, it's not that thing that's going to like fuel the flames. So for instance, I'll use myself. When I started the Red Queen company, the Disney business that I told you guys about before, and I posted in my story so y'all could go see it. I started that because I love Disneyland, but being a Disneyland strategist was not what I was supposed to be doing. And I only figured out what I was supposed to be doing by starting that, realizing that wasn't it, but then being like, now that I've learned so much about creating content, creating audiences, creating community around it, this is something that I love talking to people about. Then going into that and being like, oh, I didn't even know coaching was a thing. Finding a coach, like being in a coaching community, creating communities within that community. I'm like, oh, this is it. This is exactly what I need to be doing. And then expanding on that and creating that process into what I'm telling y'all now. So unlocking your creative genius, it really starts with not trying to do what everyone else is doing, really tapping in, going deep with yourself. And this is all about self-awareness, emotional intelligence, like what serves you, what is your thing, like what is that spark for you, and expanding on it. Because if you are doing this and you don't have a community, you don't have self-care practices, you don't have spiritual practices, you don't have like alignment processes to get you back in order when things go awry, you're gonna quit. And that's really what a lot of times business owners, they stop showing up for their business because it's not giving. It's you, even if you have a successful business, you could be like, I mean, I'm making money, but this sucks. Like, I'm attracting people who I don't want to work with. The work that I'm doing is boring, it's draining, it's burning me out. And I'm like, I don't want that for you. I want you to be great, but we have to go deep in order to turn that thing, that little nugget that you have inside, to be the blooming flower that it can be outside. It's like a little seed that we got to plant. So when you're doing that, you're unlocking your genius. This is a very long process. Usually I overlap some of the modules after this because this is something that develops over time throughout the program. And this is why I can't really go into it in my intensives, because intensives are like just a couple hours. The whole program is 6 months. So when we're going through it, I'm really starting with these things, and these things are like what's outlined in the guidebook. But like I said, this is like the sprinkles on top of the icing on top of the cake. So it's this little process. These are things that you can ask yourself, and just start with this. And I'm going to tell you guys why these are things you can start with. And I go over it in the guidebook, but I just want to do it live because I haven't done that yet. So number one that you can ask yourself is, what do you know that you're good at? Because like I said, we're going to put that extra something on it. So what are things that you know, like you can show up and say, I am good at this, like without a shadow of a doubt? Because I don't want you to start on affirmations and like big picture ideas like I am $1 million CEO, because you ain't that yet. I need you to start with things that you know, things that you can claim, things that you can own for yourself. Then because of that, I want you to start doing those things actively, reaffirming yourself in real time, in real life, in day-to-day life, because that is going to not only strengthen those skills because you are practicing so much, but it's also just going to give you that confidence that, yes, look at me showing up for myself, doing things that I love, doing things that I'm good at, doing things that actually serve. So that goes into my second point of this part. So when you're affirming yourself with the things that you're good at, you want to also ask yourself, what do people come to me and ask me for? What do I help people with? Because sometimes those are the things that you're good at that you don't even see in yourself. So you might be good at listening, but you don't say, like, the first part wouldn't be, I'm a good listener. But oftentimes people either come to you when they're having a problem just because they need to vent, they need advice. That might be something that you are taking for granted that you're good at. So when you think about that, and you think about what is it that I'm good at, I want you to think about how you can feel that feeling when you serve someone in that way today. Because I want you to get used to the feeling of being in service to those around you, being in service and being open to helping people, open to delivering what it is that you're amazing at. Because if you're not open to it, it's going to really suck when we get into the selling part, because you're going to be like, I don't know if people want me to do this. I'm going to be like, yes, they do. They're literally asking you for it before you're even charging anyone for it. So think about those things. And that's the reason why. Then I want you to go into 10 words to describe yourself. And this isn't like the things that I'm good at. This is like, who is Alana? Who is Nia? Who is Famira? Who is Danielle? Whoever is still here watching this. But I want you to think of 10 things that describe you. And the reason I want you to do this is another reinforcement, another affirmation. But this is an actual affirmation of who it is that you are and what you stand for. Because the things that you're good at might not be the things that you stand for. Like, I'm good at cooking. I don't stand for like the culinary world, even though I consider myself to be a foodie. I'm not like, that's not like my platform. That's not what I go to. But when I'm describing myself, I would say things like, I'm smart. I know for a fact I'm smart as fuck. I'm creative. I'm nice. I'm very kind. I'm giving. I'm generous. Those are things that I can stand on. And those are things that I can affirm myself in. Like, if ever I'm feeling like, whew, okay, why am I doing this? Oh, because I am these things. And this is the way that I was designed to show up in the world. So after that, there's only 2 more. I know this part is a little long. I think the step 1 is the longest part, because like I said, it's the deepest part. Yes, I am brilliant. Claim it, Famira. But next is 10 of your favorite things to do. because I want there to be action. Like in my last series, well, not last series, the last video, I was saying the hardest part, but the most important part is the follow through. So what are the 10 things that are your favorite things to actually do? And I want you to do one of those things in the next 7 days, because I need you to get used to taking action on the things that you're passionate about. Last thing last, where do you feel the most inspired? Because sometimes there will be times when you are like, all right, I need to refill my tank. And this concept came from a book that I read called The Artist's Way, which is amazing. The Artist's Way is by Julia Cameron, and she tells you to take yourself on what is called an artist date every week, which is where you just go somewhere, you decide where you're going to go. It could be to an art store. It doesn't have to be art related. It could be for a walk. It could be to an amusement park. It could be on a mini vacation. It could be whatever the fuck you want it to be. But when you're doing this, you are doing this to refill your creativity well. Because when you're giving, when you're serving, when you're honoring yourself, you're shining your light bright, you need to make sure you're still pouring back into yourself. So this is where I want you to be like, all right, where do I feel the most inspired? I feel personally most inspired at the beach, when I'm with my friends and we're cracking up, and when I'm taking my baths. So I try to work those things into my schedule excessively. Whenever I can see my friends, I'm going to see them. Even if we're like going to a coffee shop to work with each other for the day, because half of them work from home now anyway. So I'm like, oh, I have friends. Taking my baths before I go live, before I do things like this, going to the beach regularly. Like I schedule beach appointments with myself. Like I need to be by the water. I need to hear the waves, because this is where my brain can get to a quiet point where I can start to keep being in touch with my higher power, which is the greatest creator of them all. And he's filling my little creative well. So that is step one. That is unlocking your creative genius in a nutshell. But like I said, it is a whole process that I work through my clients with in the work method. So yeah, that gives you guys enough here to start off with. So step number 2 of the work method is envisioning your goal. And this is what I do start people off in my intensives, because in that VIP day experience, if I don't start with your goals, I have no idea where we're going. And if I don't have idea where we're going, and half the time when I'm working with people, they're like, I never thought of it this way. I'm like, yeah, that's why things are a little crazy. But we start with that. We work backwards. We start with the goals. We start with the milestones. And then I really want you to start thinking about creating the experience to achieve these, not just the strategy, not just the system, but what is the well-rounded, full-bodied experience that it would take to achieve this. So in this, and this is why in the work method, it goes a little bit deeper than in my intensives. In intensives, we're doing it for the sake of creating a content strategy. In the work method, inside of the Flourishing Creative Accelerator, we're doing it to create the basis of a lifestyle. So when you're creating the experience that it takes to achieve these goals, it's not just about your business objectives. It's not just about your content strategy. It's about what do I need to do on a day-to-day basis that is infused with strategy, infused with intention, infused with alignment that gets me to that next step. This is the embodiment piece. Hi, honey. I'm voting for you after this. I always think after my lives, I go vote for Shakur. And go to the link in Lady Browning's bio. Please vote for her. Everyone who sees this. Okay, back to what I was saying. But this is the embodiment piece of the whole experience, because as a creativity and embodiment coach, that's why my title is what it is. I have to make sure that you are honoring that creative genius that we've established, but actually following through, practicing. Follow through is like one of the main things that I harp on in anything that I create. Without the follow through, none of it works. If none of it works, you guys aren't getting the results. If you're not getting results, I'm not getting results, because then things are falling apart. So the follow through is the most important. And this is when I want you to think about the experience around it. But then this is when you think of influence. So when you are creating an experience around what your strategy is, how you're showing up to honor your genius, how you're putting it out in the world, how you're delivering that to the people who need it, that's when you're thinking about influence. So you're like, all right, what experience am I creating? How am I delivering that? But how is it influencing my audience? And influence is all about the actions people take based on your actions. So if I come out and I say, vote for Shakura after this live video, go to the link in her bio, go vote for her. She's really trying to get mental awareness out to the world by being her best self. Go do that. And I want you to do that. And that is a form of my influence. I can tell people, hey, go download this. Hey, watch this. Hey, listen to this, and give them reasons behind it. Like, this helped me do dot. I paused, but this helped me do dot, dot, dot. This helped her do yada, yada, yada. This helped her do whoop de whoop de whoop. Like, when I give examples, I give stories. It's not only because I'm giving you a story to create an emotional connection to what it is that I'm talking about, but it's because I'm giving a story for an example. So you have social proof that these things work. The things that I'm talking about work. I'm not just telling you things because I want to be talking on live when I could be watching 90 Day Fiance. This is stuff that is important. So this is the beginning, the basis of the influence piece. And when I'm always talking about your messaging should be in alignment with your vision, infused with feeling, because feeling is what attracts your right audience, da 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 da. That's what this whole part of creating goals goes to. Because if you don't know what feeling you want to create, what influence you want to have, how will you ever create the impact that you want to see? I don't know. You're going to create something. It ain't going to be what you want to see, and it's going to be ugly. You're going to be like, this ain't what I wanted. But that's because there was no experience honed in around it. And I really got into that experience part of stuff when I worked at Disneyland. So when you work at Disneyland, the first day before you touch anything on the job, it's called traditions. They sit you down for like 6 hours. It's like your whole first work day. They sit you down for 6 hours and teach you what the experience of Disneyland is and how you play into that, and how you show up in that. And before you do anything, before you talk to any customer, anybody who's asking you when the 3 o'clock parade is, because people have asked me that question, I don't know how many times. I'm like, did you just ask me what time is the 3 o'clock parade? But anyway, going into that, you are creating an experience. That's why if you do anything Disney related, you get a certain feeling when you get into it. And that is completely intentional. Disney designs everything that it touches around creating experiences. So that is something that was just infused in me as a little teenager working at Disneyland. But that's why I create things around experiences, because like I said, my first goal ever was to be the owner of Disneyland. So I'm still being the owner of Disneyland, just not at Disneyland. So I have an exercise in the guidebook. I'm not going to get into that one during this live, but it is about creating that messaging, creating that, at least the beginning portion of what that experience would look like in your content. I don't really go into like the whole transformational lifestyle experience of being that flourishing creator in the book, but that's what the accelerator is about. So that is another important piece. And in the work method, we do go over this. This is another one of those things. That's why it comes second, that we have to go over and really hone in on over time, because creating an experience isn't just like a one and done, like, thank you, ma'am, kind of thing. It's something that you have to test. You have to tweak. You have to pivot. You have to redesign. You have to like color outside the lines a little bit to get it just right. So in the accelerator, that's why we do this second, because I'm like, all right, you got to start like showing up as this now so we can see where it works for you, where it doesn't. And then that brings me to my next one. So step number 3 is putting that purpose on a pedestal. And this is when you're getting out there. You have your genius set up. You have your experience. This is when you become the scientist and you start testing things out. But when you are testing things out because this is an experience for you and for the impact that you want to create in the world, so you have influence, impact, and income, first thing we need to do is address the boundaries around that. Because if you're going to be putting your energy out, you are going to be creating that light, that burning fire that is shining bright. We don't want to make a wildfire. We don't want you burning yourself out or just like doing the most. We want it to be honed in. We want it to be laser focused. We want it to be perfect and beautiful. We want you to be a flourishing creative. And that's when we put it on a pedestal, but with boundaries in place. So, and this whole part isn't about boundaries. This is mainly what I talk about in the guidebook, the boundaries portion of it, but it's honestly one of the most important pieces, because we can't put you out there and make you this household name, this brand brand that people interact with on a daily basis if they just come and interact with you in any kind of old way. So, and this part is not even an option. This is a requirement of the work method. This is something that absolutely needs to be in place, because I remember when I had it and it was not in place, and I've seen other people not have it in place. And then that's when they come to me, they're like, this ain't thanging like I needed to thang. So that's when we really get into that. Put those pieces together, focus in on your genius zone, create the goals that create the groundwork, and then put the walls up around it. Like, this is where we're going to be. This is the space we're going to work in. This is the content we're going to deliver. This is how we're going to show up in the world. And this is who we are going to be, because we are protecting your energy at all costs. Your energy, your time, your life force is the most important thing that we want to check, we want to embrace, and we want to flourish within. So if you're not, and I'll end part 3 on this part, but if you aren't deciding to dedicate yourself to show up for your business, people won't show up to buy. And this is another boundary that needs to be in place, but this is like a disciplinary boundary. This is like you deciding that you are going to show up in this way, you deciding that you are going to be on that pedestal and showing up to be there, and really honing in on, okay, this is why I'm here. This is what I'm creating in the world. This is who I'm serving. This is how I'm delivering, and putting a boundary on yourself and being like, all right, I may not feel like doing this today. I might feel in a weird energy, but going back to what we talked about with unlocking your genius and really stepping into envisioning that goal, creating the experience. What part of the experience is missing that you don't feel like doing that? Because something's amiss. If you don't feel like living in your purpose and your passion, something's going on. But because we have already created that groundwork, that game plan of how to get you back in that space, you ain't gonna be there long. You're not gonna be worried about it for too long, because you already know what to do. So going into step 4, and this builds, each part of this is like a building block on each other. So step 4 might seem like it comes out of left field, but you'll see why step 4 is important. But this is community building with intention. So when you're coming out, you're shining your creative genius light, you are going into things with strategy, you're creating that experience, you are doing all the things, but with boundaries in place. You are doing this with the intention of showing up in a particular way to attract the people who need you the most. And when a lot of people say that they want to build a following, they want to get their followers up, I'm like, okay, but we got to do it with intention, because you're not building a following, you're building a community. And these are people who are going to rally behind your brand. These are people who are going to stand up for you when you can't stand up for yourself. Hey, Philip. So when you are showing up with your authenticity, with your authority, people are going to notice you. And this is another part while we start with that unlocking your genius, because a lot of times creatives, a lot of us are introverts. A lot of us are like, I don't know. Like when I started Artwork Creative, one of my friends, she was getting into tarot, and I was at her house, she was playing with her tarot cards. I was like, can I ask you a question real quick? And she got real serious with me, because we were sitting in the living room talking to other people. She was like, come to my bedroom. You can ask me there. So we sit on her bed, and I was like, all right, I have this idea. And she already knew I was very entrepreneurial, but I was like, I have this idea. I don't know if I should be the face of it, or if it's an idea that I should sell. Like, is it something that I should do? Because I'm an introvert. I am not one who's naturally like, oh, let me open my phone and go live and talk to people about things that I love. That's not my first notion when I wake up in the day. She was like, I'm not even going to pull out the cards for this. Yes, you need to. Yes, you are a dope person. I know you don't like to show it out in front of public, but you are dope. Like, you have things to say. You have experience that you can share. You need to do this. I was like, okay, fine. And then that's when I started like my YouTube channel, started like actively practicing these things that make me so able to do it now. But when you're community building with intention, I don't want just anyone noticing you, because when you do start stepping into that, people are going to take notice. But I don't want just anyone noticing you, because you are not for everyone. You were not put here to serve all, 8 billion people on planet Earth now. You're here to serve people who are for you, people who are in alignment with you, and people who you want to serve. So there's more information about this in the guidebook, especially about engagement, of how to get the ball rolling in that process. But it's funny that Famira is here because I talked to her about this just the other day. When you're thinking about who you want to serve, who you want to attract to your brand, you really are building upon those boundaries, but expanding upon them. There's like a gnat in my house. And you're asking yourself, what do I want out of this? What do I present to this situation? What is it that I need from these people, and how can I serve them? But you're doing this simultaneously, and it is like a balancing act, because not only are you serving yourself and your goals, but you're serving your audience and what they need from you and how you're presenting in the world. But the easiest way to do this, and that's why I go over engagement in the guidebook, is to wave that flag and be like, hey, y'all, this is me. This is what I stand for. People are going to see the flag, and if they stand for it, they're going to come over and see what you're talking about. If they don't, then they're not. They're going to go the other way. They're going to be like, peace out, unfollow. But when you wave that flag and really show who you are, and you're clear about it with your boundaries, with your genius in place, with that purpose, with those goals in place, with the intention, people see that and they respect it. Even if they leave, I will tell you 100% they respect you for standing up for yourself, because not very many people do. So when you're clear every step of the way, clear about your offer, clear who you help, clear about how you serve and how you want to show up, it will save you a ton of headaches down the line. It will save you a million headaches. And like I said, there's an exercise on how to do this in the workbook. But when you're growing your business, growing your audience, growing the people that you serve, you really want to have this piece in place. This is another non-negotiable, because you can't build anything without this. Mommy, I know, but you're distracting me. I have to edit that out because my mom just came in my room looking for something. And my cat actually followed her, so it's probably all for the best. So I'm going into step 5. This is when you are honing in on the messaging, but we're already practicing messaging, but we're going more into the offer itself, like the actual selling piece. And I save this for the end because I need to get people comfortable being themselves, showing up for their audience, serving, and it makes the selling part so much easier. If I did it the opposite way and showed you how to sell first, you'd be like, what? What am I supposed to be talking to people about? How do I show up for this? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? This is when the magic happens. So like on MTV Cribs, every time they went to the bedroom, they're like, this is where the magic happens. So this is where the magic happens in the work method. So this fifth and final piece is when the strategy comes into place, the content comes into place. You're really like out here, like getting it done, like posting consistently, like actually showing up. And over the years, I've gotten so good at this piece of it, just using my own creativity to draw that out of someone else. And that's like how we really hook people into your brand, because that's when I see those things, like how I was talking about Tam at the beginning, when she's speaking in Spanish, when she's talking about her own spiritual practices and how she remixed that into her own live video strategy. That's not something I could have ever come up with for her, but in working with her and seeing how she talks, the things that I just see, the like passion in her eyes when she starts talking about it, I'm like, look, all of these things, let's put them together in like a pretty package and see what happens with that. And then boom, flourishing creative. That's exactly what you become. So again, this is a piece that's in the workbook. I have an actual like exercise that you can do on it, but this is, like I said, when we double down on your, hey Tam, that's another Tam, that's not even the Tam I was talking about. But this is where it's funny that you came in when I'm talking about a Tam. Look, synchronicity, alignment, period. But this is where you double down on your creative genius, turn it into that actual system that you can rinse and repeat. This is what creates the longevity. This is what creates the consistency. This is what creates the never ending flame of fire behind being a creative and owning that creativity and showing up for it, delivering it, and then getting that feedback loop from the people that you're serving, because that's what the work method is all about. That's what I want you to have infused in your business. So we are not any longer those best kept secrets. We are constantly showing up for our business, showing out, doing all the things, and really tapping into that inspiration, that continuously refillable source that we have of creativity by opening ourselves up to inspiration, delivering our programs, content, services, products, whatever it is that you create in this world. But using it to your advantage. And you get to decide exactly how you get to do this. You get to decide how you take inspiration in, how you remix it for yourself, how you do the things. That's why the work method is a method. It's not a step-by-step, like cookie cutter, fill in the blank template kind of thing. Because I don't create those. I create frameworks. I'm like, you are a creative. I want you to get in here, color all inside and outside the lines. I'm going to give you all the tools that I have. If I see that you're good at markers, I'm going to be like, all the markers you can get. Yeah, not you speaking Spanish. I mean, I don't know. Do you speak Spanish, Tam? I don't know. I've never seen you do it. So that is everything that is in the work method. And within it, I'm always answering those questions, giving you feedback about the following, building that community, not having time to post, because then that's a part of the experience that's out of alignment, not having like the finances or money to actually get these things done. Because if something's like out of alignment, then the whole experience is kind of out down the drain. So we got to figure out how that experience plays up for you, how we can develop that, unlock your genius, create the experience, put it on a pedestal, get it out there in front of your people, create that community, and go do the damn things. So that is the work method. So recap, because we're kind of at the end of this whole live series. So recap, day 1 was all about the mistakes. Day 2 was putting the content and getting the things out there. Day 3 was about the work method of all the 5 steps of how to actually show up as a flourishing creative in this beautiful world. So like I said, the work method, the 5-step process that I just walked you through, takes you from being Instagram's best kept secret to being that flourishing creative, that business owner who is out here creating influence, impact, income, all the beautiful things with your content, with your messaging, with your audience on social media. And in this instance, in particular, Instagram. Of course, I get something in my eye when I start getting to the end. So today we went over those final pieces. And now a lot of times when I do this, people are like, okay, so all of that sounds well and good, but how do I actually do this? Like, how do I put these big picture ideas into my actual business? And that is why I created intensives, my VIP day experience, like I said, experience, but also the Flourishing Creative Accelerator. So this is the entire step-by-step blueprint of what I walk my clients through so they get those results. So they're showing up differently. One of my clients, Amanda, she just popped out a baby like 2 weeks ago, and she's already in process. She's like, all right, pop the baby out and we're going into podcasting mode. I'm creating this experience for people who have never had this experience of having a baby, so I can tell them what my experience was like, because she is a flourishing creative. She has gone through this with me, and she's also going into thrifting and actually taking people thrifting, because not only does she pop out a baby, but she wants the world to be sustainable for that baby girl who is probably going to be a flourishing creative herself. So these are things that, like I said, are not just content strategy. It's not just Instagram. And a lot of people know me as the Instagram girl. I'm like more so like the creative experience girl. I'm like the creative magic girl, because this is something that is infused into your lifestyle, infused into your business, infused into how you show up for your kids, your family, your community. This is the ripple effect that is created once you step into that framework. So like I said before, Accelerator was put together for creatives, for creators, for coaches, service providers, people who have products and services that are developed to create impact. They not only are created to create income, but they are created with passion, with purpose, by serving someone's vision, by actually like creating something that has not been seen. And even if it has been seen, it ain't been seen by you yet. So this is when it's your time to follow through. Like I've been saying, follow through all the time. If this is something that you are interested in, or you think someone else would be interested in, the doors to the applications open on Monday, the day before my birthday, because what better way to celebrate what I love to do than giving it as a gift to myself. So these will open on Monday. By all means, like share this out to anyone that you know that might be interested. I know a lot of the people in here, they're already flourishing creatives, but I know that y'all know people who need this juice. So send it out, share it. Applications open. I only have 10 spots available. I only open 10 spots at a time, because as you guys can see from everything I talked about today, this is a like in-depth thing that we're going through. And that's my boundary that I created around my energy. 10 people at a time. I can do 10. I will expand as I practice and get more into this accelerator experience, but 10 people at a time for now, because that's what I said. That's my business. So This is for the people who want to see the change that they were put on this earth to create. They have something to say. They're sick and tired of being unheard, of posting content and getting crickets, putting all this time into fire content, like stuff that I have never seen. Like I was telling y'all how Tam does her whole makeup and body paint. And I'm like, how is nobody looking at this? Like and then just went straight into Reels before I was even using Reels. She's showing me what to do. So, and this is also for people who want more to life than just posting, showing up, hoping for the best, like actually have a strategy behind it. Their content is serving a purpose. It's created with intention. Even if at first it's not working or they're not seeing the results that they want to see, because it's a part of the experience, they're honoring that part of the experience. And it's like, this is just a part of it. This is me being the scientist. This is me showing up and being this flourishing creative, because you can't flourish without some little bumps and bruises along the way. So with the accelerator, because like I said, the intensive is a lot different than the accelerator. The intensive is like the quick win, the quick meat and potatoes of things. Like, all right, here you go. Be on your way. I will see you later. Have fun with that. But with the accelerator, you start off with an intensive. So when I'm talking about envisioning your goals and that whole second piece of it, we start that off with, before you even get into the accelerator, we have an intensive. So we sit down with each other, knock all that juice out, and you have your game plan. So even if during the accelerator something comes up, because life happens, something might come up, but you still have your plan of action to get things going. So it's 6 months of coaching with me, getting feedback on feedback calls. We have monthly feedback calls. We have monthly coaching calls. This time around, because I am all about an experience, I'm doing welcome gifts for people that are full of things from my past clients, because they are great creators. I'm like, why would I create a box of stuff that they do? How dope would that be? So welcome gift of my favorite things for my favorite clients and people who may not be my clients, but are in my sphere of community. Because like I said, that community piece, that your community will get you together. My community shows up for my lives and be like, hey girl, this was great. So co-working days, because if anybody who has ever been in a coaching group with me, they know I like to make little coaching calls on the side where we just sit and talk and powwow. So there will be co-working days. So if there's something that you are stuck in, or say you just need to block out a specific period of time to knock out your reels, knock out content, to outline a live video, we'll have dedicated time where we don't have to talk on the call. We can just sit there and be like, all right, timer starts now. We got an hour to knock this out. We're here together with that creative energy of community. Then we're going to have these things called play dates, which in my last program, it was called the Women's Academy of Instagram Mastery. We didn't have play dates, but this was something that I always wanted to factor in to my programs, because I want this whole process to be fun. And if we're not having fun through the process, some part of that experience is amiss. So we got to get that back in order. So we're going to have play dates and happy hours. So not only are you getting community, you're getting a group of girlfriends that are getting together. And this is another part that's included is the exclusive community, because there are people that I've worked with in my past cohorts of the Women's Academy of Instagram Mastery. They're like still best friends. Like they talk to each other on the phone. I'm like, I didn't even know y'all were friends like this. They're like, yeah, Women's Academy, we just became best buddies. In my own coaching community, I have a text message group with them. I'm like, hey y'all. And we like come to each other for help, for support, for things that are not even business related. And that is one thing that is extremely valuable in this whole process, having that community. Because even if you're building your following, those are going to be the first people to follow you. You're putting something on sale, those are going to be the first people to buy from you. So those things are so important. Also said the intensive is already included, so you don't even have to pay extra for that. It's just built into the pricing. Then there are going to be bonuses, which I'm keeping close to the chest, because there are going to be things I might bring people in who have like their own little talents to come talk to y'all. I might have someone come do a tutorial. I might put some extra little somethings. My love language is gifts, so I love overgiving. So that is that. But final call to action. Like I said, if you know anything or anyone who needs this, by all means, share it out. And also, if you haven't already, download the guidebook, because if you don't take anything away from this, I hope you take away the fact that you need to follow through on the things. So get the guidebook, take the action steps in that, follow through on the exercises, and really get that thing going. So that is it for this live series. I want to thank everyone who came to this. Anyone who's watching the replay, thank you. Do the things that I asked you to do. Follow through. Take action, download the book, and share this out with anybody that you think needs it. So that is all. Thank you for being here, and bye. I'll see you guys later.